Let's get going. So, a few words about myself. So, what right do I have to talk to you about the career development, especially in the early stages, and what kind of a knowledge can I share with you? Well, I've been in business for over 25 years, and I will share with you some of the critical elements of what I would call critical steps that allowed me to kickstart and jumpstart my career initially. And maybe some of these tips and tricks will help you to start yours, or to continue yours, or to advance in your career. And so I'll share my story with you, a few things that happened to me over the several years that I worked. Today, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, I'm an investor, but prior to being that, I have about 15 years in the corporate world in many different companies. So my last job from which I left was the regional VP of Microsoft, and then the VP of Finance and International at the Sound. After which I started to build my own companies, and my expertise is in digital strategy and transformation. My company does e-commerce websites. We are here in the Bay Area, and we are about 100 people right now, actively growing. So I consider myself to be far, far away from reaching my career goals yet. And so let's get going on that. Maybe, by looking at this picture, you would see people like yourself. I was there as well with you. I was there in the beginning of '90s when I graduated from my college, and I went to school for accounting and finance. And I spent several years learning that, you're not alone, and you're starting, for many people who are starting their careers, the paths look like they're the same, but each path is very individual. And even though they try to hurdle you, herd you into specific paths and career development, everybody has to find their own way. And so let us first see what the problem is with the career development. The problem is that it is both about you as well as long-term orientation, right? If you look at the Wikipedia definition of career development, it's a process that individual may undergo to evolve in their occupational status, making decisions for long-term learning to align personal needs. It encompasses a process in which individual is self-aware of the personal needs and desires for fulfillment in their personal life in conjunction with the career they hold. While every person's experiences are unique, this contributes to the different careers that people will acquire over their lifespan. So what does that mean? Well, it's about you, which means that you have to be self-aware and know what you want. Secondly, even if you know what you want, it's about long-term. And so you have to expect multiple non-linear paths and to switch your career several times over your lifetime, professional lifetime. And so the problem is that you can get stuck on either side or on both of them and stay there for many years, losing career opportunities. And so the reality is that all of these companies out there that are marketing to you, or you're trying to get a job at and grow careers at, they talk about all this sexy stuff, evolving challenges, changing business models, different ways of working, disruptive technologies, all of the things that could make you want to explore what's out there. What's behind the fancy brand name that says that they discovered the new ways of working. And while most companies are facing the immense challenges, most of them continue to work in the old proven ways. So you come to a company with a huge brand being lured in, and all the interviews went well and everything is great, but you come into the company and you find that it's actually a very, very old school type firm. So it's not because they all are bad. It's because all around the globe, all across the different industry domains and verticals, companies are reinventing themselves today. Your problem is that you cannot wait to build your career, to wait until the companies will reinvent the ways of building their businesses. And so you are you are in the most difficult time of your careers right now, because not only you guys are graduating or about to graduate or just graduated or having your first or second job, you're also in the midst of the worldwide pandemic, something that the world has not experienced before. And you might think that the time like this is a unique time, but if you look back, each of the past 40 years has had numerous crises. In my lifetime, as a newly minted graduate, I started in the country that disappeared off the face of the earth in 1991. Soviet Union was gone. When I did my MBA in the year 1998 to 2000, we had an IT crisis, financial crisis. In the crisis of 2008, the housing crisis, lots of different revolutions in the countries. And look what's happening in the world right now. So you think you have it hard right now in 2021? Look at the slide and think again. So there are certain things that you can do in every crisis time, which crisis is, in Chinese is the same hieroglyph for an opportunity, I hear. There are people who make it and people who don't make it. And so for people who make it, they use some of the really interesting things to get ahead. For me, that was actually writing a letter to somebody who I barely knew back in 1994. So this is me standing next to my college in 1994, and I knew an American named John Loudermilk in the state of Indiana, who was a trucker. He had his trucking business, and I wrote a letter to him saying that I'm about to graduate and I'm a Ukrainian newly minted accountant, and I would like to come and work for him if he has an opportunity. And so I spent my first summer in the United States actually living in this place, which you see on the right, which is a street view from Google today, learning the tricks of the trade. I drove trucks, I cleaned lawns, watered the flowers, I worked as a cashier in the credit union, and this person has actually gave me my first experience in life. And so the first lesson that I have to share with you is, if you're early in your career, make bold moves when you have nothing to lose. When you're young, you don't have a lot of family responsibilities, and you really can experiment and bet really strongly on risky things. So don't hesitate and make those bets. Don't be afraid of any work. Get out of your comfort zone and go for it. Now, right after that, in the year 1995, I had my little Seinfeld Penske file moment with Costanza. So I got hired by Arthur Anderson, a consulting firm, for my US experience that I got before in the year 1994. And the first thing that they gave me when I came to work was this file that was maybe like 4 inches thick, full of work manuals and different instructions that I was supposed to read. And I was looking at the bunch of other newbies there who just started, and everybody was going through it, making notes. And I looked at that and I realized that this is actually a process for figuring out, who to put to work kind of work. And so I just dropped everything. I went to the partner, knocked on his door, and I said, look, I understand you guys want us to go through the procedures, but when do we actually start the real work? He laughed at me and he called his manager in, and they put me on the audit team of the Ukrainian bank with the French team. And that was my first experience. And the rest of these guys had to sit for a week and read manuals while I was getting the practical experience. Right. And so the second thing that I will tell you today is you have no time to lose. Recognize these patterns in your new jobs, patterns that are built for averages, average hires, average employees, and break them. Be bold and seek the opportunities to step out of being in a pattern. The next one happened to me as another opportunity. So I was working at Arthur Anderson, and there was an opportunity I heard of from a friend of mine who wrote to me that Alcoa, the aluminum company of America, was about to do something in Russia in 1995. And so they were hiring supposedly for Russia. Now, in 1995, you guys may not remember, but we did not have internet that well developed. So there was not a lot of info out there about vacancy positions, and you cannot just pick up the phone and dial an HR department. So what did I do? I sold my guitar, I sold my computer, I bought a one-way ticket to Crawfordsville, Indiana, where the office was located, and I knocked on the door of the receptionist, and she opened the door, and I said, I hear that you're opening the project in Russia, so I would like to apply for a job. They got so stunned that I would do that, that they hired me on the spot. They gave me the job for $400 a month, a place to stay, dental insurance, and medical insurance. And I spent the next 6 months basically learning the tricks of the trade, becoming not just an accountant, but also the controller of a large a manufacturing plant that was making the plastic closures for the bottles. And so, you know, the lesson for me from that was that a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs out there, they're not being advertised for. You have to find them around, and you have to eliminate the competition altogether. Again, by making the bold moves and just differentiating yourself from the pack. Looking at your friends, talking to your friends, talking to the friends of friends, and actually exploring the ways the companies do business, and looking at how they grow and where they go to develop their markets, and then seeing if you can contribute to that. This could be one of the chances. And along the way, it really helps if you have a coalition, a group of people that supports you. So in this Alcoa plant where I started to work in finance, they really had the ancient computer systems, but they had a lot of products of different types, different shapes of bottles and different caps, and all of these caps where you find the prices under the caps and so forth. And so this controller of the plant, his name is Larry Cagle, still is a good friend of mine today. He never had time to actually properly calculate the costs of different product lines and see which ones are profitable or not. And so I spent some of my free time, and I sat together and I wrote a program to calculate that. And I actually spent a lot of time at the conveyor with the time watch, stopwatch, figuring out how long it takes to produce certain products and so forth. He appreciated that. I did a project for him. And so he was ever since my strong supporter in my career. People like that will propel you in the early career if you find the ways to help them, if you find sincerely the ways to help them solve their problems. Then I go to do my MBA at the Rochester Institute of Technology in 1998. And I go to do my MBA in the worst possible time. So it's a global crisis, IT companies go down, and when I graduated, get my diploma in the year 2000, everything is crashing down, nobody is hiring. And so I have all these plans about what I'm gonna do, right? And when I was preparing for this presentation, I was actually looking for some of my notes from those days, I still keep them. And these are the articles from the Wall Street Journal, you know, about the companies who make it big in the IT world and so forth. And then I did the inventory of everything that I can offer to the companies today. And then I did the list of companies that I really admire: Lucasfilm, Oracle, Silicon Graphics, United Nations, believe it or not, you know, Xerox, PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG. And, you know, there was not a lot of other things I can think of at the moment other than sending my resumes to all of these companies. And so I did. And so I spent a couple of months sending out the resumes, and then I thought that I'm doing something wrong because I am among a huge crowd of people who are trying to do the same thing. There are newly minted graduates there, just like in this Men in Black movie, right? And Will Smith is sitting here among them, and he's trying to get a job while everybody is well prepared, coming from the Yale and Oxford and all of that. And what does he do? He finds the way to push the table so that it's more convenient for him to write answers to his survey. And so if you look at these guys, they hate him for it, right? So he finds the way to beat the crowd, to beat the competition. And so I have a little story for you how I did that myself. Instead of doing my internship at a company that was paying a lot of money, Xerox in Rochester, I did my internship at Harvard. I actually assisted one of the professors in the Harvard Kennedy School of Government to do the research in the pension sector reform and a lot of interesting things. I spent the whole summer basically in Harvard libraries, making zero, doing the evening jobs when I could, but getting that valuable line on my resume that said Harvard. And so when I went to a career fair, when I graduated with my MBA, I found the stand of AIG, the American International Group, the insurance company, and I struck a conversation with the head of HR. Her face is right here, Vicky Brown. Unfortunately, she passed away already, breast cancer, but she's been my mentor for about 20 years. I told her that, I'm not really a Harvard graduate, but I was looking for an opportunity. RIT was a great school, and I was looking to develop my career in finance. And she was pretty impressed, but I was one of many. I had a good interview with her. And so I thought, what is it that I can do different to actually make an impression? Besides giving her the resume, of which, how the previous speaker said, there is a 6-second period for which HR looks at the resume. And so I left a handwritten cover letter for her in the lobby of the hotel where the conference was. And I knew that she was going to be checking out from that hotel, and that she's going to be leaving, and that she's going to be getting that as a personal message from me. Guess what? I heard from her the next day. She bought a plane ticket for me to go to Wilmington, Delaware, for me to have the follow-up sessions of interviews. I was the only one out of like dozens of people who she selected as finalists, because I was the first one to respond, right? And so you have to do the basics of the job search really well. You really have to master the art of writing the resumes, mastering the right of, the ways of answering the interview questions. You have to be creative in your ways to find approaches to these people who make decisions. But the most important thing in this situation is to show hunger for work, because people respond to that hunger more than anything else. Because I hire today not for technical skill. Even today, I hire even the most senior people for that hunger to develop, to grow more, to achieve something above and beyond. And one other point in closing, the only person who builds your career is yourself. Nobody else cares, despite what they say. This is my group of my co-workers from Microsoft from the year 2000, I think 2007, 2008, when Steve Ballmer visited my local office. And this is us waiting for him to come. And he did a presentation in front of us. And Microsoft is a great company, great results, great people-oriented business. But when he was talking, his subconscious also spoke. And he says, the most important thing in this company is sales. I mean, people. And everybody laughed at it because, it really is. In Microsoft, if you don't sell, you don't stay there. There's a pretty quick path out of the company as long as you are not, as long as you're productive, you're staying there. If you're not, you better find another job. And in our IT industry, there is a stigma. People are called resources. Alice, I've decided to add a resource to your project. We're human beings, not resources. But to this day, a lot of companies are treating people like resources. And so you have to remember that value is very visible and it's very tangible. The value that you create for the company that hires you is so important that you could ask for the value in return. And if you are productive, if you create value, you should not be shy to ask for advancement opportunities or your increases, your raises and salary. And being shy about that is not a very smart thing. Now, you have to show some results. So you better have the inventory of the things that you achieved and your results before you come and ask for a raise, right?